Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I want to try to put a Meshtastic node inside a laptop. Mr. Windows keeps turning my audio gain down and I have to turn it up manually even though AGC is off. Explain that one. Anyway, don't use Windows. So what I want to do is take one of my favorite laptops, and these are the ultimately hackable laptops, the Lenovo X230, and I want to put inside it, or somewhere, mount fairly permanently a Meshtastic node. Here's a Meshtastic node, just this little board, and I wanted to find a way of mounting this in a permanent way that didn't require having cables hanging out of the sides of the laptop where the USB ports are. And the first idea I had was to use the webcam here, because if you don't need the webcam, you can disconnect it, and there's a USB connection which you could then hook up to a Meshtastic node or an RNode for Reticulum. And I was thinking of ways of doing this. You could drill a hole in the back of the lid. I don't mind drilling holes in these things because they're old, very old, and I've got quite a lot of them and I fixed them, so they're great for experiments. So you could drill a hole and put a wire through from the USB connection here, or maybe pull the wire out of there all the way back down into here. And then of course I remembered that there's a spare slot inside here. This is the slot for a wireless WAN card, and you don't really perhaps need it. The ones that were in here were very old anyway, for the very large size SIM cards. And so I may have taken it out, or maybe there was never one in this particular laptop. And the interface is mini PCIe. And what I thought was, having seen a video recently on YouTube where somebody was testing all kinds of mini PCIe cards you can plug into a laptop, then I realized you can get a USB port, which is this one. So this is a mini PCIe USB port. Not expensive, you can get them on Amazon, made in China, super cheap. And all you do is plug in a USB cable to here, or maybe I'd solder some wires on, because I would like to put the tiny Xiao ESP32 little kit Meshtastic node in this slot inside here, and then just hardwire it to the USB socket. Then you wouldn't have to have an enormous plug taking up all the space. But this slots in here. I'm not going to take these wires out. These are the antenna wires. This is the Wi-Fi card, and then the wireless WAN card would go in here. So it just plugs in there, and then you've got a USB interface, either to a tiny node that's mounted in the hole there, and there's also a bit more space inside the laptop over here. Here's another thing I don't use, which is the PCI adapter for cards that you can slide in for various devices. Never really had one. I had some USB ports, USB 3, that I could plug into an X220 that only had USB 2. It consumes a lot of power, but there's an interface here. But I thought if I take the screws out and I remove this, then there's a lot of space in there to put a Meshtastic node card underneath the palm rest where the trackpad is. So I thought about doing that one way or the other. Now there's a big problem, and if you are an expert on ThinkPads, you probably already realize what that problem is, and that is that when you put a non-Lenovo part into the wireless WAN port, it doesn't like it because it's not on the whitelist, because the BIOS in these machines has a whitelist, which is a list of allowed devices, and of course this Chinese cheap USB adapter is not one of them. It's only devices which were available from Lenovo at the time that this device was manufactured, which is probably 10 years ago at least. And so this is a problem. And if you look in the internet, in the forums about people who've tried to overcome this, as far as I can see, nobody ever did overcome it. There was a program called something with 1802 in it that you could run to try to when you boot the machine, you boot it from a floppy or a USB stick, and this something 1802 program would turn off that whitelisting, that nobody ever managed to make it work on an X230. There are people who tried to hack the BIOS, which is a chip around about here, and you just read it out with a flash reader clip-on tool, and then you can reprogram it. They didn't seem to have any success either in removing the whitelist. The other suggestion is, which is perhaps easier, is just to modify this adapter itself to rewrite the firmware or to hack the firmware in this, so that it, instead of giving out its honest, genuine identifier code. It gives out the identifier code of a whitelisted device for the X230. And I haven't found out how to do this yet. So if anybody's done this, I'd be very interested in hearing about it, please. And you can't do it with it plugged in here because the BIOS won't let you talk to this adapter. So you'd have to plug this adapter into a mini PCIe reader, which you then plug in via a USB plug into the computer so that it can actually talk to this device, and then try to reprogram the firmware. If anybody has done this or knows how to do it, please comment in the comment section. Otherwise, I've given up, and I will find other ways of getting a USB connection inside a laptop, because this one is not easy. So please comment or ask questions. Sorry if I led you on. I didn't put a clickbait title that says I've solved the problem, and but if you came here hopeful, if you ever do find a solution, please let me know, because I'd be very interested in using it too. That's enough for me from now. So please make comments, ask questions, like and subscribe if appropriate. Bye bye.